permitted, and no physical location from which the public may observe the meeting will be available. Remote public participation is allowed using the Zoom program. Let's move right ahead and call the meeting to order. And we will start with a roll call. We've got Barbara, Margie, Jeff,
Here.
Lars,
Here.
and I am here.
Excellent. Thank you all. We have full attendance today and do have a quorum. So.
Okay, has everybody had a chance to look over the minutes from August 18th? Does anybody want to move to approve the minutes? Do I have a motion?
I'll approve the minutes.
Okay. Anybody want to second that?
Yeah, I'll second the motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, nobody's disapproving. So we can go ahead and move to approve the minutes from August 18th. And we do have a comment from the public regarding items not on the agenda via email. Did everybody have a chance to take a look at that?
No.
I'm not sure which one you mean.
That was in the letter that was with the return emails from the city to the artist. So it's kind of mixed in there. I don't know if everybody noticed, but it was from Kate Haig about the murals, not only at Ives Park, but at Art and Soul.
No,
Should I ask Carrie to read it?
please.
Sure. Right. Hold on. Let me get there. And this was in with the supplemental information. Is that correct?
Yeah, at the bottom.
That's right.
All right. Okay, so this is from Kate Haug, and she says, "Dear committee members, I'm writing in support of a mural project on the Art and Soul building. This would be a great visual way to enthusiastically welcome visitors into downtown Sebastopol. Also, it is a nice synergy between Art and Soul and the city of Sebastopol. It's wonderful when the city can support small, locally owned businesses, and it is extremely hard to keep retail businesses open in our current internet-driven economy. I'm also writing in support of any public art that can be incorporated onto utility boxes. I have seen this in several other cities, and it always provides a breath of fresh air and beautifies city streets. A few months ago, the idea of a mural around Ives Pool was discussed. I'm writing in support of this project. A mural around Ives Pool would be a great continuation of the work that is presently being done with the sculpture garden. As Ives in our central downtown park and also home to the art center, it would be amazing to unify the park through public artworks. Thank you all for your hard work on behalf of the residents of Sebastopol." And I apologize because it mentioned the sculpture garden. I did include it with the sculpture garden staff report, but Jen Birch, you're correct. It also encompasses projects like the Art and Soul mural and other murals as well.
Were there any other public comments at all, Carrie?
We have not received any other written or verbal comments from the public since our last meeting.
Okay, great. Does anybody want to comment on the public comment?
I just, before we do, this brings up like several different projects, and is this the time for us to be discussing those projects?
So technically, you because it's not agendized, there shouldn't be any specific discussion on public comment. We would need to. I can entertain requests to agendize something, or I can provide a staff updates for the items we have just answer questions in terms of anything that we've talked about in the past.
Yeah, so
So then the
maybe,
question should
yeah.
be, do we want to add this to the agenda for the
Yeah.
next meeting? Would anybody like to see the Art and Soul or the Ives Park mural added to next month's item?
I would.
Yeah.
Great, me too.
Okay.
Okay, and then just as a general discussion item of, and I mean, I know the mural project was submitted while we were in the midst of both the Upcycle Art Project, who will be giving an update next. They requested, not this meeting, they weren't ready, but they did request to come again at their your November meeting. But I think that's the only other main topic on that agenda. If I recall from the mural, the Ives Park mural discussion, the intent was, hey, we got a lot going on right now. We're in the midst of the sculpture garden review. But that was something of interest to the committee for later discussion. So that seems quite appropriate for the art. And so I can just put that on as a general discussion item of how the committee might want to move forward with that. And then for the Art and Soul, I guess I can talk with the chair and vice chair about how, whether that's, I'm not quite sure if that would be a city sponsored project or what the request is for that. And so I need a little clarification on what the committee might want to see for that.
I can clarify on that when we go off, right?
Okay.
So
Great.
how do you-
I'll talk to the chair offline then.
how and
Okay,
when
great.
do you want, wait, how and when do you want to do that, Carrie?
You know, if each of the items next month, we limit to half an hour for discussion for each of those, I think we can cover the upcycle and the two requests,
No, what I meant was, you just said to talk to the chair and vice chair about the Art and Soul idea, and then Jen said, so how would we do that?
so we'll do it after
three
the
of us?
meeting.
After today?
Yeah, we'll do it after the meeting. I'll just send, I have meetings most of the rest of the day, but I can send an email to just clarify. And we can figure it out. I don't know if we need to have a separate meeting about it or not. I'm not quite sure. It's Jen's shaking her head. So, and it may be that actually just if after this meeting, you two are able to stay for a few minutes, we can
Okay,
maybe just cover it then and not have to have a whole separate meeting,
yeah, okay, thank
but
you,
not as part of this meeting.
thank you.
Okay,
Yeah.
let's move on. Are there any statements of conflict of interest? Okay, we can move straight into the regular agenda. Agenda item A is the Sculpture Garden Art Call Review for proposals with the supplemental information included. Has everybody had a chance to go through and read all of the items, the emails that were sent back to the city?
Yes.
Okay, great, great. So I went through and I made a list of everybody's pieces, kind of made like a list of what I liked and not. Did everybody, what was everybody's way to go through these? Do you want to just discuss what we do and do not like? Oh, go ahead, Carrie, please.
Sorry, I did put together, and I'm sorry, I didn't get a chance to talk to anyone, but I did put together, I'll share my screen, a rating sheet, just so there was a way to, and we can certainly change these categories, but at least it has the artists listed. And this is similar to what we used when we reviewed the library RFP, just as a way of, I think when we did that, we had a plus for a, yes, this is really, you know, it wasn't a numeric thing and add up the numbers because it's not really what, doesn't capture everything, but we at least had a plus for outstanding, or yeah, this is a really a pro of this, a minus for a con, or a 0 for a neutral. But we can also just use it as a way to capture notes, and we can change any of these categories or things like that if you want to take a few minutes to look at this, or we can throw it out the window and do something else. I just wanted to try to have something here to help.
Seems helpful.
Can I also just clarify, we have 8 pads, is that right?
Yes.
Okay,
So we have 8 pads, and we have the possibility of some sculpture not on pads.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, there
Okay.
are, there is space for one or two more not on pads within the space.
So let me just ask if everyone's gone through, would everybody like to go through and do this whole list and then go through this right now? Or is everybody already picked their top 8? Let's start with,
Well, I just
Yeah, go
wanted to share, I think I did something similar to you, Jan. I went through each of the pieces and took notes on what I thought the pros and potentially cons could be for each piece.
If we have time, I wouldn't mind seeing them again as a group.
So do you want to do that as people are discussing what they liked and disliked out of them? I mean, I can certainly share it on the screen so that we can, as we discuss them.
So do we want to do like one at a time? Or do we, and each person speak on each one? Or would we like to have each person speak on the set?
I'd prefer to do one at a
I
time.
just wonder how many, I think another thing we did during the last round was we basically voted. And it depends how much homework everybody's done. I feel like if we've all done the homework and no, we could basically kind of vote yes or no on these, and then we could add it up and we'll have our 8. But if that's not the case, we can really go through this in detail. So I guess I really want to know, is everybody prepared to do voting, or is that just too far ahead of where everybody's at?
I'd like to hear any comments people might have before voting.
Okay. Could we go through each one then, starting with Beth?
Sure. And so, you know, the other thing we can, I'll just say one thing since it's Jen in response to the voting, we can also, you know, use one of these columns to just be each of the committee members. Unlike last time where we did a short list and then a final one selection, this is a little bit different. So if it makes, since we have 8 positions, we could also just fill in all of your names, and as if we do get to sort of voting on yes, no's, use this to track that as well. But let's start off.
And just add them up?
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
fine with
And
that,
just
but I
use
don't
that to
wanna-
track. But let me go ahead and share my screen for, and I don't know if it seems like probably someone else should do the speaking on. Let me just close my other stuff so it's easier to. I do have the supplemental art information out as well, but we'll just start off with the main component, because that had the piece information. And I'm not going to go through and describe them again because I think that might be redundant, but I don't know if those of you who have reviewed and have thoughts about them, if this is a good time to share those.
Maybe just if you can put up the image of each sculpture.
Sure, let me try this. Okay, so this is Beth Hartman's, the first one.
And I do believe there was not an email back from Beth. Therefore, I think that's concrete.
So we did not email the artist where the piece was already completed, because we only emailed the artist who didn't actually have completed pieces at this point. So we would not, because she has a completed piece, we did not email her. I did receive an email from her a couple of days ago asking for an update on the sculpture, you know, on the process. So I know she's certainly still engaged with the process, but just if you didn't see an email from someone, that's why. Oops.
Okay.
That's the other one. Okay.
Can you roll down, Kara, so we can see the photo?
All right. Can you see it?
No.
No.
You can't see the photo on your screen?
Just
No.
a thumbnail is all.
Oh, but
Oh,
in the
that's-
thumbnail. So if we click on the, no, yeah. Maybe if you click on the thumbnail, Carrie.
Huh, that's, well, I'm not seeing, the problem is I don't have a thumbnail to click on. I'm just on the main page. Let me try this again.
There it goes.
There it
I
is.
can
That
do it if you
help?
share my
Okay.
screen.
Excellent, okay.
Okay, would you like to just go through and everybody make a quick comment and then possibly we could even vote yes or no? Barbara, do you have anything?
I think it's relevant. I think it's attractive. Excuse me. I like the material. I'm a little concerned about the flat top. If that would be a kind of an invitation to put something on it or add to it somehow from the public, it doesn't look unfinished so much as something could be placed on it that isn't part of the sculpture by a passerby or a guest or some, a park user. Did that appeal? I mean, did that occur to anybody else?
How high is that?
Yeah, how tall is it? Would be a question related to that.
It
I think this
is
is the tallest
11
entry.
11.
feet tall,
Okay.
so it'd be a pretty
thought it was
hard reach.
8. Yeah, it would be pretty hard to reach.
Not impossible, but less hard, less easy.
Mhm.
Beth, do you have more, I'm sorry, Barbara, do you have more comments?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Margie,
I think it's fine. I'd vote for it.
Jeff?
Yeah,
Jeff, do you
I
have any
like the
comments?
size. I like the height. I think it's a really simple presentation. I like the meaning and the recognition of women. And hopefully she would include some kind of description and meaning with it. And being the tallest one, I think it's going to be important for the sighting of this one, being the tallest of the entries. So I vote for this one.
Lars,
point.
do you have any comments?
Nope, no comments. I think it's fine.
Okay, I also like this one. So I would also vote to have this one. And I don't know, should we actually make a vote and just go through and put like a yes or no, and then we can add these up at the end?
It sounded like a yes.
Sure,
Mhm.
yeah.
Okay, to
unanimous.
me, it sounded like this one was unanimous. So if we go back to Carrie, I don't have the list, but I know, and I don't know the order. My list, the next one was Brenda Phillips.
Yeah, I did them in the order of the PDF so that if we were doing something like this, we could just go from one to the next.
Okay, can we pull up Brenda's so we can take a look at that?
So this is, there we go. There's the Santa Rosa piece.
No, yeah, that's, yeah.
Okay, and Brenda's email, I believe, was suggesting that it would be ready in time. Is that right?
Yeah, I think all of the artists where they were concepts said they could be produced in time. So I don't think that,
Okay.
I didn't see any where they said that would be an issue.
Okay. So what are you waiting for, Jen? Jen? She's frozen, I think.
She's frozen.
Oh, I think she's.
Okay, well,
frozen.
let's start again. Barbara?
It's attractive to me. It seems a little commercial looking and a little more of a resident, for a residence rather than a public art piece of sculpture. It just felt more like something that would be found in a nursery. And I was a little concerned about the succulents and if they were going to need any attention in maintenance. But I liked it. It just felt kind of, the whimsy was nice, but it felt a little mass produced and easily recognized in somebody's garden.
Okay.
Unsophisticated, in other words.
Hmm.
Okay, and I'll go next. We discussed this before, I think because it depends primarily on plants, on a plant. I don't think it's appropriate. Plants are lovely, I love them, but I don't think for our sculpture garden, one of the things was about maintenance and durability. And over time, you really don't know what's going to happen, and it requires someone to continually maintain it, and plants have a tendency to do what they're going to do. So from my perspective, because of that, I would rule it out.
Okay, Jeff?
I think it's an intriguing piece. I appreciated what both Barbara and Margie said. I also appreciated that Brenda mentioned a larger size, and I understand your comments, Margie, about the reliability of the plants, the succulents, and maybe it would be appropriate to let Brenda respond to that. And I think it would be an interesting contrast to the other pieces that I really like in this this submission. So, and I would suggest if it is voted on, to put it somewhere closer to pedestrians so that people can appreciate the finer elements.
Thank you, Jeff. Lars, do you have anything?
Well, I think it's we have in our brief that went out that I think that maintenance is kind of an issue that the sculptors have to deal with. So I think Jeff's right in a way. Like if she wants to have plants, I'm not opposed to that. I mean, succulents can last a long time without much maintenance, but maybe she can address it, or is even willing to, you know, stop by occasionally and make sure that that's okay. It's 9 feet tall, according to her email, which I think is a lot better than the scale of her other one, where it's smaller than she is, it looks like. Yeah. So I'm a little conflicted. I like, Barbara, what you said. There's something sort of unsophisticated feeling about it. But I don't know. I'm not opposed to it, but I'm not sure.
I have one more question, and that would be, I'm not sure about the silicone. I'm not an expert with adhesives for the outdoors, but I'm a little skeptical that silicone has permanence. I think that it could become brittle and possibly not be as strong as needed for an outdoor sculpture. Does anybody know anything about that more so than I?
Well, the structure is the rod, right, in concrete. So silicone's sort of just an additional thing.
That's true, yeah.
You know, to keep it in place. And silicone's used all the time for like, you know, kind of around windows and things like that. So if it's the right product, it would be fine.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and
Thank you,
for my
Lars. I knew you'd
comment-
have a good response to that one as the architect.
Jen?
Okay, I'll say that for my comments, I don't know if I think that sophistication is necessarily a definition that I would use for an art piece, just because this is her art. I don't want to judge it by that. I also, you know, think succulents will last a while. Unlike the succulent wall we were talking about having on the side of the library, which was going to be a permanent piece, this is not permanent. That would have taken, you know, years and years of maintenance. This is, you know, a temporary sculpture piece. So I'm not necessarily opposed to the plant. Even if somebody comes by and reaches up to 9 feet and rips it out, it still has some beauty toward it. So I'm not completely opposed to it. It wasn't my favorite one, but I don't mind it a bit. I think it's pretty. It's different, adds a lot of color to this also, because there's a lot of pieces without color. So, and I think that's a nice part of it. So I would vote yes, but I don't know where everybody else would be on that.
She also mentions sort of interactivity in her description, which is interesting, that there's frames that can be spun around and so people can actually come up to it, which is different than others.
I like the idea of the fountain, the solar fountain. To have that movement, it seems pleasant.
Mhm.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, then we also would need to consider, you know, if it's asking people to come up and interact with it and so on, again, what that might mean for the plant. And even though it's, you know, a year, that's not a short period of time.
Mhm.
Should we go through and do a quick?
It also has lighting, which is none of the others are considering. Like lighting is integral to the piece.
So it would be the only piece that would be lit.
That's what it seems like. But it's, I mean, it's not like spotlit. It's just sort of, you know, she calls it, you know, fairy lighting. That's has movement to it. Is pretty interesting.
Okay, and just so you all can see what I'm doing on this other chart, I'm kind of just capturing the comments as they're coming. And then if people have an affirmative vote, yes, I'm trying to track that. So I don't have, Jen said yes, so I wrote that down, but
Yes.
here's your initial. So I don't know if this is
No,
helpful or
it's
not, but.
Yeah, it's totally helpful. I think so. Yeah. Margie, what do you
No.
say?
No, I don't think it's appropriate for what we need.
Jeff,
Yes.
Lars,
No,
Lars.
I'm a yes.
Okay, let's move on to Brianna.
Okay. And this is the only thing that she has is the so this is the medallion. It's 6 feet diameter laser cut steel piece that's powder coated.
And Brianna did write back that she can easily make arrangements to have this completed for installation.
Yep.
So we will go through, my Zoom, they're all switching order. So we could start with, I was just going by with comments, who's popping up first. So Margie, would you like to start? Do you have comments?
I think it's fine. It looks like it will last. It's a nice design. And I mean, my criteria are, you know, that it's somewhat pleasing and makes sense and is durable. And this one's fine.
Great. Barbara?
I think it's fine too. I was a little curious about how thick the metal is. I know it's 6 feet in diameter. It doesn't matter to me. I was just more curious than anything. And I know it's powder coated. Is she assuming it's going to be that green that'll go with more of the foliage color? Does anybody know the answer to those questions? Because I'm still the newbie here.
She did not write that in her email back
Okay.
To Rebecca.
Okay, I think it's fine. I think it's an interesting piece. I like the idea that she's an emerging artist, and it's nice to be able to include people on that level. I don't know if that's a
Thank you.
criteria, but it just occurs to me.
Jeff, do you have comments?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's important for CSG to support artists like Brianna, up and coming. And I do feel like this piece, you know, with PAC and artist input would be important to locate perpendicular to the walkway because of its nature. And I think it's different. I think it, you know, as a group with the other ones that we like as a committee, I think it would add good variety. And I had a question too about the finished color.
Okay, and Lars?
I like it. I think it's a nice scale and an interesting design. It'll be a nice contrast to some of the, you know, sort of more bulky, taller pieces. Just having that slender circle. So I'm all for it.
Okay, as am I, yes. And as far as the comment about how thick, she does mention that she went to school to learn varied building techniques. I have a feeling that it's thick enough that if somebody, you know, pushed it, it's not gonna fall over. So I don't really worry about that since she kind of mentions that she went to school for this. I love that
Great.
she's, you know, emerging artist. And I actually like the piece, the bee, the honeycomb part of it, whatever. I think people will see different things. And I really like it. So I would vote yes.
I think for the color that we can probably assume that it would be the color that she showed us, and we can ask.
Yes, we can ask. And one note, so this, assuming we complete the recommendation today, this will be on the October 19th City Council meeting, but we will follow up with the artist with some of these questions, and we may just include this chart of, or these comments as your, you know, some of your comments with the report. So I'll edit it for context and just as we move forward, but this will help me with my staff report. So thank you for your comments on these.
So I have a question. Why are we asking about this color and we didn't ask about the color of the other ones? Like if this, it's green, it looks green to me. It might not be, what green is it? I don't know, but is that something, you know, we really should be asking more about, or do we start to mandate certain colors, or, you know, slippery slope?
Absolutely no. I would say I will vote for this, yes, no matter the color. If it turns out to be green, that's fine. And this is the artist, exactly kind of something we've spoken about in the past. We're not going to mandate the colors that the artists are. I think at this point, we're voting based on, do we think this artist can come up with a piece that will look nice in the sculpture garden, whether it's this shade of green, or if it turns out to be silver, metal, or if everyone's prepared to say yes or no to this artist, whatever she brings, if this is close.
Well, no, it's not just what the artist, it's what she's proposing.
Right.
So
exactly.
it seems like it's that piece and that color, we have to assume, unless we want more detailed descriptions, we should get that from everyone.
Yeah, since this isn't black and white, you're right. I agree with Lars. Since this wasn't presented as a black and white, it was presented as a specific color. I would assume it is this color, but I can just for the curious. I heard that people weren't concerned about the color; they were more curious about it. So I will just ask that as a follow-up question to the artist, so that I can share that with you.
I also want to say we have some furniture that is pressure coated, and it is basically that color. It's fine. It's very durable.
Can I just quickly mention why I questioned the color? Because the design to me is very serene, and there's a nice ability for it to become part of the foliage. If it were a different color to me, I would question it. I think it would change its interpretation visually for me. If it were silver and it was reflective and it became too bright, frankly, I would wonder if I would have the same agreeable vote, frankly. That's just I just wanted to give you a rationale for my question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I think then we need to lean on the.
And so I did
point,
get everyone being a yes on that one, just as they were making their comments. But
I think that's
the question
enough.
is, Barbara, would you keep that a yes if you're not positive?
Yeah, I would keep it a yes.
Okay. Okay, who's next?
Right. Next is
Oh, yeah.
Carol Pemberton.
Okay.
And the art description and the images.
All right, let's go through. And Margie,
Actually, I'll
did you
just
have
go back to
comments?
the name.
I think it's fine. You know, it's looks like the artist has really put a lot of work into it, and I think it would fit fine in the garden, and it's durable. It's a nice, and it's a different material. So I'd vote yes.
Great. Barbara?
Yes, I think it's appealing and provocative enough to be interesting. So I would
Great.
vote yes.
Okay. Thank you. Jeff?
Yeah, I love the artist description. I like the background for this piece. I think it would be very, very important that if the artist doesn't do it, that to include some kind of description and explain the Lincoln Memorial connection and the marble, whether it's in a pamphlet or somewhere else. I was looking at the height, about 44 inches to 3 feet 8 inches. So it would probably be one of the smallest pieces in the collection.
Mhm.
So I just wonder if that base is going to do justice to it in terms of its the way it's going to fit in and look with the garden as a whole.
Is,
But
it-
I like it.
is the height including the base?
I thought so.
Yeah, well, it's 32 high without the base and then a 12-inch high base.
Yeah,
Okay,
44.
plus
what
then
we-
on top of the pedestal,
Right.
Yeah,
I mean, on top of the
Right.
pad.
Yeah, and this is one, I don't know, we haven't even talked about which goes where, but we do have some of the paths that are further up on the hill versus lower. And but I think that should be a separate discussion once we get through the actual selection of the pieces.
For this, really. But Lars, do you have comments?
I agree with everyone else's comments, and I think even the size of it is another reason to pick it, that it's different than 10, 11-foot tall sculptures. And I think it could, picking the right location and even like on the pad, it could not be centered. It could come to one corner, and that might be more helpful of how to view it. So I think we can solve that one, but I'm for it.
I agree. I think, maybe at one of the ends or at the top of the hill, there's ways that this could really stand out. And it's a beautiful piece, and it's really durable, made of marble. I love the description. So I would also be a yes.
Right. Okay, so those were all yeses. I don't even think I need to go to the spreadsheet.
So I think the next one was Dan Rico. And
Correct,
if I'm
yeah.
not mistaken, he also did not write back in the emails.
Yeah,
Correct. I don't, let me just actually.
Oh,
I didn't see an email from him.
No, there was, and
although-
he originally sent a video link, which I couldn't
I couldn't
access.
either.
I
I did,
couldn't open it.
I did open it. It looked, very impressive, and he never was anything specific about what he was suggesting for the sculpture garden.
I
Yeah, you're
opened the
correct.
link
I've
also.
gone through the responses, and I will, because Rebecca has been out since end of August, I do have access, and I'll just check her email right now, just to make sure that I didn't miss it.
His I saw the link as well as Margie. I thought his work was incredibly impressive. I also went through his Instagram. He clearly has a lot of absolutely incredible sculptures that are finished, and there's no question that he would bring something professional and well done. And if I had to vote on him without seeing a piece, just based on his history, I would easily say yes. I would love to have a Dan Rico piece in the sculpture garden. However, I don't think everybody has, if you had a chance to even go to the Instagram, which is available. I don't know if everyone's even seen any of his work. Then if you guys couldn't open the link or go to the Instagram, then this one's not really votable.
Mhm.
But he's one of the most impressive people I've seen. I'll say that.
So what do you think we should
We're
do?
not voting on person. We're voting on a sculpture, so we need to reach out to him again or just move on.
So if I've been thinking that if we don't come up with 8 or we don't come up with 10, that then we can have a short discussion about what we might do with the additional spaces. And one possibility would be to check in with him again, and give him another chance. I don't know. We could discuss that. But there is no sculpture to vote on.
I could try messaging him on Instagram right now and see if he would get back to me. Is that too fast or?
No, that'd be great.
Either way,
Go ahead. Yeah.
let's move on then. And just,
Okay, I'll just,
Well-
I'll make those
because
notes. that
there's no
they're-
voting right now. That's a
Yeah, I
big
won't put a vote in. All right. And so the next one is Lynn Diedler. This is the Fire for Zelinos sculpture.
Okay, Margie.
I would agree with the comment that Lars made when we were first looking at it. And I don't think it's really a sculpture. And I would not vote for it.
Barbara.
Well, I remember the comment too from the last time we met, and Frank and I still think I'm taking a risk here, but this is my favorite piece, and the reason is because it's so provocative, and it's challenging, that's for sure. But you know, I'm kind of a fan of recycled everything, and because my jewelry is usually made out of things like that. But there's something so harsh about it and so difficult that I'm intrigued and drawn to it, and I'd want to know more about it, and I would want to have some information, and I'm sure that could be supplied. And that whole Frizzell thing was that was a disaster, and I think being reminded of it isn't such a negative. I think perhaps in our past to know that we've survived something important and we retained a piece of it, frankly. But I think there's something quite lovely about it in a way. And I'm she's not or he, I don't, is not a trained artist, is that right? Wasn't that part of the narrative?
That's right. She's not a sculptor, right? She did
Yeah.
mention that.
It's a he, not a
He.
she.
Yeah, it's a he.
Oh, right. Sorry.
So even that to me is kind of interesting, that somebody would go to the trouble to make something of interest and share it with others, and not be a bona fide, in quotes, a sculptor.
Did he
Because-
make this, or was this a found object?
Oh, the piece was made out of leftover corrugated roofing or something from the Frizzell fire.
It was made, he made it?
But I think were formed into shapes no artist could create, only a dramatic event. I took home a few pieces. I guess, well, it could be that is the piece that was
That was
picked
my
up and
impression,
he
yeah.
literally stood it on its side, but just the intention, I think, is intriguing to me, and to include something that's that much of a risk. But I just think that it in itself is a intriguing piece.
Okay. Jeff, how about you?
I'd prefer to share last.
Lars?
Barbara, very good comments. I like everything you said, and I would still vote no. I just don't think it's that. I don't think he's done enough with it to transform it, to make it a sculpture. It's just a found object, and to me, that's not enough. And it's not enough in its form that I see.
I will also say I like Barbara's comments. It kind of changed my mind a little bit. It was also part of one of the big fires in Sebastopol. I think all of us can kind of remember that night very well, what was going on. That fire was, you know, one of our big Sebastopol things.
And Jen, you're a little garbled, so I don't know if you're able to turn your video off to help with.
I think
Any
she froze
bandwidth?
again. No, there she is. Good.
So Jen, I was just saying,
Can you hear
you
me now?
cut out there. If you want to
Yeah.
turn your
Okay.
video off, that might help.
Does that help?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I liked Barbara's comments. It does help change my mind a little bit. Originally, I would vote no, but without any comment on this piece, it does look more like just trash rather than an actual sculpture. This one alone, without, you know, a statement about where it came from and that night that we all remember the fire happening. So that was the question of whether it comes with more information, because otherwise it's a bit confusing. So I think I would still vote no on this one.
Okay.
And then if you want to go back to Jeff, if you want to comment or not.
Well, I too really appreciated Barbara's point of view and kind of reminding us about being really open-minded with each piece. And although I do appreciate the meaning and the symbolism and local history behind this piece, I would vote no.
Okay. I think we got our votes on that one. Is that right, Carrie? Or did you have questions about?
I will just ask, thank you. I will ask to confirm. I have Barbara as a yes, but everyone else as a no. Is that, did I capture that correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we can move on
Back
to the next person, who is Noah.
Noah, yeah. And this is the forked tree. And let me just, I believe, let me just scan through, but I believe since this is a sketch, he did say he would be able to fabricate his piece within the proposed time frame. So even though this is a sketch at this point, he would be able to meet the deadline or be able to fabricate for installation this fall.
Okay, let's start with Margie.
Okay. I kind of am lukewarm, and it's okay. I think a sculpture needs to stand by itself without any literature to make it have a presence and worthwhileness. So, you know, what the artist thinks the meaning is very interesting, but I personally think sculpture needs to stand by itself. So this is okay. And again, my thinking in terms of the sculpture garden is to support local artists. So I probably would go with it. I don't have any strong objection. I just not excited, but that's okay. And I'd like to hear what others think about it.
Okay, Barbara.
Well, I'm not blown away by it. I like it though. I think it's interesting. I like the idea of it being a tree and a fork. A fork in the tree always reminds me of making choices and decisions and being encouraged to do so. I would vote yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Well, I have some questions about it, and while at the same time, I agree with one of Lars' earlier comments about, trusting the artist, allowing the artist to convey what they think is important and works. I have questions about the scale of it, the girth of the trunk, the color. It sounds like it's a real dead tree. What kind of tree is it? Those things maybe aren't that important for us to judge, but I still have questions about it. And I think, in the end, if it was approved, the location would be highly important for this particular piece. And also, while I agree with Margie about the standalone aspect of sculpture, when we're in museums, a lot of people like to follow up and go read descriptions and meanings by the artist. And I think this one would be deserving of that too. But I would give it a yes, but with questions.
Understood. Okay, Lars.
I'm not quite clear on what you're saying, Margie. I don't think he proposes any description to be put with the sculpture. He's telling a story of why he's doing the sculpture, but I don't see it unless I missed that. Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you, Jeff, that we don't know exactly. It's pretty vague as to what that tree piece would be, but I really appreciate the scale of it. And the way he talks about that as being something, sort of sculptural, standalone, but if you're far away, it could start to become part of the tree canopy. So I think it could be incredibly powerful if the tree part was a good piece, was done well. So I'm definitely a yes vote on this one.
Okay. Yeah, I do love his description. This one's so intriguing that I'm really excited to see what it is. Maybe it's because there wasn't a lot of description, or not an actual photo. There was quite a bit of description, but I'm intrigued. I would vote yes, just because I want to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just say, I like the comment that it's kind of reflective of trees, which is this garden is amongst the trees. And what I meant is that in the presentation, he relies heavily on, right next to the picture of the sculpture, almost equally is the meaning, going this way, going that way, and so on. That's what I was responding to. And I just wanted us to be able to say yes to it as it is without explanation, even though, yes, explanations are interesting, but that was my meant. So I would say yes, fine with everybody else.
Okay, so that one has 4 yes votes, one of those yes with some questions. Mostly related to the scale, color, and whatnot. All right, so the next one is Philip Fischetti.
Okay, Margie, would you like to start with Philip?
Well, I know that when we first talked about it, Jen felt very, very strongly about the cultural implications of the stacked stones. And I think that that's an important thing to think about. Visually, I think it's fine. I like it. And, up to the moment that Jen was talking about it on hikes, we have enjoyed and even created some stacked stones that the culture of the hikers and the backcountry people, rather than ethnic necessarily. What I was thinking about was whether or not we had it at some point, maybe within the sculpture garden, to have a public discussion about this, about the stacked stones. So I'm not sure whether to vote yes. I mean, I like it, and I want to be considering the issue that Jen brought up. So I'm not ready to vote yet.
Okay, Barbara?
That's a really nice photograph. I think it's what is it? Ubiquitous. I've seen these all over the place. I think it's charming that people go to the beach or go somewhere and they stack stones, and there's kind of a meditative quality to it, and it's very personal. I don't think it. I think it's ordinary, and I'm not intrigued by it or even drawn to it. But and I know we talked about this before, but what about if we had one of the bases were empty and people could stack their own stones and change it every day or change it every hour? It would just be I know this is way out there, but it'd be a nice way for people to participate. Maybe there'd be a photo of stacked stones, and how would you stack them if you had this pile of stones? Something that people could actually do and create their own sculpture is one of the 8. Sorry.
Okay,
I just feel that it's too familiar.
okay, thank you. Jeff, do you have comments?
Yeah, I felt like it was pretty common. As a backpacker, I've seen a lot of, ducks, etc. So I think it's pretty common. However, I think as a committee, we should reflect on the possibility of including this across the walkway closer to the naturalized creek.
Mm.
Okay, do you have anything else on it, Jeff?
No, and I'm kind of on the fence myself as well.
Okay, Lars?
I'm pretty much in agreement. I think if he sort of has 2 slightly different sketches for it. If that's as tall, what would it actually be if it's just sort of 6 or 7 stones?
There it is. That's, yeah.
Are they that big, or what is he really proposing? I mean, people have done, cultures have done these giant versions of these. Andy Goldsworthy did a pine cone that was like, 4 feet, 5 feet in diameter and 10 feet high, stacking stones. It's totally incredible. Like, to me, what he's proposing looks like just something he would have done out of the beach, and now he's doing it here. So that doesn't appeal to me.
Okay, thank you. So yes, not only from my point of view, the cultural aspect of the building cairns, not only that is something that I have an issue with, but also as an environmentalist, leave no trace. This is something that conservationists are absolutely against, building rock piles like this. As just something on multiple levels for me, it was a no. And then after Barbara's comment about this is a way to promote other people to build more of these, that makes me even a harder no. I don't want to promote in any way more people building these. You see them all over the place, but especially when you're out in places like BLM land or places where you are supposed to leave no trace, and then people do this. This is not, as far as just from an environmentalist point of view alone, stacked river rocks. I like his description. It seems very, very innocent. However, it's not something that I would want to promote in any way. So I would be a no. My vote was easy. I don't know how everybody else stands. And I think everybody was Barbara was a yes, and I was a no. And then everybody else was medium.
I was a no. But Jen, thank you for that comment about leaving no trace. I would assume that most of these self-made sculptures are on site, though. I'm asking this as a question, like if you go to the beach and make them, you're using stones that are there, you're not taking them away. Whereas you're right, if this could encourage people to remove stones and bring them anywhere else. So thank you for that comment, because I didn't think of that, and I'm glad that you brought it up. So now I can have that consideration.
And culturally, they were used as a directional tool.
Right.
Not just as a, right. So
thank you again.
So I'd just like to say again, whether we use this sculpture or not, I would like to put out the idea to, at some point, maybe at the sculpture garden, to schedule a public discussion to have people become more aware of this.
I love that idea as well.
Yeah, so do I.
Yeah, me too.
Good.
Then we'd have to have it there, right?
No, not necessarily. No, it could be discussion of, you know, we liked it and this is why we didn't include it. I don't know what our vote is at this point. And maybe we'll come back and clarify it. I don't know what people want to do.
We could move on and see if we have enough.
Okay.
Let's move on to Sarah then. It was the forgiveness totem.
Mhm.
Okay, Margie, do you have comments?
Yeah, it's fine. It's
That's okay.
interesting. It's colorful, has meaning, creativity, durability. Yeah, good.
Okay, Barbara.
I appreciate it. I like it. There's something kind of nice and primitive about it. It isn't, the images aren't obvious. They're intriguing to me. I think there's a lot of thought that's gone into the choices of the information, and I like the shapes. I think it's very appealing.
Great, thank you. Okay, Jeff.
I really appreciate the artist's personal meaning and the history, the experience that is put into the piece. I also like her use of the videos, which would allow visitors to further get into her art in the process. I like the kind of the earthy nature of it and the tile-like, mural-like elements to it. So I'm a yes.
Okay, Lars.
So I'm not clear. The video, there actually will be video projecting as part of this, she's saying?
No,
There's no video.
No.
Just something one could follow up and find out more about what she does and stuff.
Yeah, I believe that's what I read.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I have nothing to add. I think all the comments are good, and I'm in favor of it.
Okay, I'm also going to be quick because we are running short on time. I love it. Zero waste series, recycled materials, colorful. I'm a yes. Was that yes on everybody?
I think everyone but Barbara actually said yes.
Barbara.
but I got from her
voting
comments.
yes. I'm
Yeah,
voting yes.
that's what I got from your comments. Thanks,
Okay,
Barbara.
thank you.
Okay, let's move on to Jeffrey. Jeffrey's ankle.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
Okay, Margie.
Let me get
Interesting.
the bigger picture. There we go.
Creative, durable, unique, fine.
Okay, Barbara.
Yes, I think it's great. I like it a lot.
Jeff.
Yeah, again, I think this is great for Sebtown, you know, again, repurposed materials sends a productive message about the future, definitely fits here. I appreciate the, you know, over 10-foot height. And again, this will be a location, important location piece.
Yep, Lars.
Yeah, I agree with all that. It's definitely different than everything we've seen, and I'm for it.
Okay, and I have been a fan of Jeffrey's ankle sculptures for many years. I am absolutely a yes for this. Very excited to have a piece of his shown like this. I love this piece, so I'm also a yes. And so that seems pretty straightforward on Jeffrey's ankle. And
Yep.
that would mean we move on to, oh, that's it.
That's it. That's the last one.
Okay.
So it looks
Okay,
like,
so in question,
yeah.
we have Philip and Dan Rico. I did Instagram Dan Rico. I have not heard anything back. What I asked him to do was to send an email to Carrie. So I don't know if Carrie, you want to just check and see if maybe he just randomly sent us an email. That would be good luck. But I don't see that he responded or even saw
All right, well, I
my
have 56
message yet.
new messages since we started the meeting, so it'll take me just a second.
and I
Okay,
don't
never
think,
mind.
I didn't think there was a definite yes on Brenda Phillips.
Right.
That's
Oh,
correct.
no.
Yeah, I
Oh, yeah,
don't
we
have
had
any
3
messages.
yeses and 2 nos on Brenda.
Oh,
So I'm not sure where that
So
puts us.
I actually had that at 7 yeses, if that was going by voting. Brenda did have some nos on it. But if I remember the count correctly, that was 3 yeses, 2 nos. I did circle that one as a move forward on that, but we can
Yeah, so
discuss that
that
one
did
again.
have, that did have an affirmative vote of 3, not unanimous, but that's not required. So it does have an affirmative vote on the yes.
I'm happy to reopen the discussion on Brenda's if anybody would like to push to not have this one in. If you're a no vote and you would like to not see this one, and give a
And I can go back to that.
comment.
well, I'm going to reiterate my no vote.
And I would reiterate my no vote. I think maintenance is a significant, I don't know, if it wasn't a plant, it'd be fine. But I just feel like even if it's a succulent, it's not, what happens if, like a few months down, suddenly it's all not working
So
as a plant.
Margie, can I
Yeah.
ask you about that? I think, so it looks like it'd be very high up, for one thing. And to me, like, even if it was dead succulents up there, that's a very minor part of the piece. So do you not like the piece otherwise? That's my question.
I'm not enthusiastic about the piece otherwise. I might go along with it otherwise, but to me, a dead succulent is not something I think we should be, or half alive succulent, or is not something that is appropriate for the sculpture garden.
So that's your main objection to it.
Yeah.
Okay, just
Okay,
clear.
I think the question here is, did Margie or Barbara's comments just now change any 3 of our yes votes? So,
I mean, I would much prefer like that we're unanimous. I don't love it that much to have 2 people have to walk by from our board and look at that and say, that's terrible. Why did we do that?
okay. However, what we're looking at here is not just having we're looking at having an empty pad. So would we rather have an empty pad or have this one with the possibility of some dead succulents?
Well, I don't think that's the question, because I think that we're going to have empty pads anyway, because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, definitely yeses, and this one.
6 that are yeses.
Right, so there's going to be empty pads anyway, and that's what I
Okay.
suggested. Let me just finish. What
So
I
you would-
suggested is that we
Go ahead.
discuss how we want to handle that and whether we want to extend a period of time, for additional input, or maybe check again in 3 or 6 months. So I think that could be a discussion, but I don't think just because we have those pads, we must put things on them regardless.
I would like to say, let's go through and maybe say, would you prefer to have an empty pad or Brenda's sculpture? And if we could possibly maybe say, if we talk to Brenda and say, just don't add the succulents, would you be open to that?
I wouldn't. I still think it looks like garden art. Stuff I see it in that's commercially made, that's very trendy and looks cute in the garden until something else replaces that look.
Mhm.
I think it lowers the bar.
I would agree.
I would agree.
I still like it. It's the most colorful piece, but I do agree with Lars. If you want a all yes vote, then we just lost one. So now we're 3 no's, 2 yeses, and we haven't heard from Jeff yet.
Yeah, well, I kind of like what it adds. I think it's going to diversify the garden with the other pieces, and partly because of the color, partly because of the profiles it gives. And I don't have a hard time with the fact that maybe it has more of a garden-y feel to it, because it is a garden, it's a sculpture garden, it's in a park. And I just think it adds great greater variety to it. And I think we owe it to the artist to allow her to respond to our concerns.
Well, there's
Okay,
one,
so-
there's one concern of plants, and then there's a much bigger concern of the expression of it. We're not going to bring that to the artist. It would only be if we're okay with the sculpture overall and we ask her about the plants. Those are two very different things.
Why would we go to her if we're not going to say yes, even if she agrees to take out the succulents? If you
Yeah.
guys don't like it anyway, there's really no point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you're just a solid no whether she removes the succulents or not, maybe there's no point in going back to her. I still like the piece. I think it's, but I'm totally fine with Lars's suggestion that we all be on the same page. Therefore, I think there's no reason to go back to her. We can just say that many of you would prefer an empty pad than having Brenda's sculpture on there. So we can just move on with that one.
Well, that's the same way you'd prefer an empty pad than having Phillips or than having, taking the risk with Dan's or having Lynn's. You'd prefer an empty pad.
Well, we have
I
two.
don't think that's an
far,
issue.
Right, we should talk about that. So, right, because right now we have 6 we're all agreed on. So that would be 2 empty pads.
Two,
A
So-
6,
four,
1, 2,
five,
3, 4,
six.
5. What was the 6th?
We have 6. Seth?
I have 6. I can read them out. If
Yes,
you'd like.
please. Oh, Carl, I'm sorry.
Um,
I got it. Okay,
Okay.
thank you. I just got it. Yeah, so that's two pads. And, there's possible ways of dealing with that.
I think the most important thing would be to put 2 other sculptures on those pads, as quickly as we can.
Okay. There is the coyote. And that's another, it was put there, it way extended its time frame to be out there.
The
The
coyote
coyote that's
City
near the
Hall?
library. And
You
I
wanna
don't know
move-
whether people would vote to have that in the sculpture garden or not, but that is a sculpture that's out there that could be, as I say, it's beyond its date of how long those kinds of sculptures can be up.
Where is it?
That's an option?
I think it's a possibility.
Okay, well, that's beyond the scope of what I think we're talking about here. That is not, I'm confused about where that even came from.
Because Lars just said, let's think about how we can put sculptures on the other 2 as soon as possible.
Well, I
So I
would
said that's
say,
a
let's bring back
possibility.
up the people who actually, I would say, I wish that everyone had taken the time to look at Dan Rico's history, even if it was just the Instagram. It's Daniel_Rico_art. So you could just go to the Instagram and see some of his stuff. If I'm not mistaken, it's a public page. So anyone could just go to that Instagram website without even having an Instagram account.
Well,
Instagram.com/
I think that's a
Yes.
fine idea, Jen. I mean, we could certainly reach out to him. I mean, if we have 2 empty
Well, he
spaces,
applied,
we can, but also what Margie said, it could be one too. Like if we have 2 empty spaces, how can we just target somebody or something instead of doing a big open call again? We just say, oh, we know Dan was interested. Let's follow up. Maybe we can get an actual piece from him to look at. Or there's one in town that we can move over there or something. Like those are both, I think, good ideas of how to fill up the spaces quickly.
Agreed. I would just say, I think we should start with the people who actually applied versus just moving random pieces in town that we would like to see in the garden, which is also fine with me.
But it's only one of the people who applied that we can approach. There's only one.
The other ones we've discussed and voted against.
Right.
So I'm just real
I mean, we
quickly,
don't
is
need
this-
to do it
Jen, is
again and
this-
again.
Jen,
This is his
the-
page, yes.
Okay,
Oh, okay, wait.
so this is Daniel Rico's Instagram page, I guess,
Yes.
for his artwork. So just to be able to share that with folks.
I'm
Thank you.
familiar. I'm sorry that I didn't research this. I know who this artist is. And I too am very drawn to his work.
Why did he, I don't understand why he never
Uh,
He
sent us
put
a,
this in his information. This was in,
right, he never sent us a specific proposal. That I don't understand why.
I
Okay.
would vote on him based on his history. He's an incredible sculptor and
I'd love to have his work there. I just don't have a,
Yeah, I think we could all agree with that. We just need to know what's going to go in the bag.
do we?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
surprised he wouldn't have been more forthcoming with an actual piece, or at least enough of an idea to do a sketch or a description.
Yeah.
Relying on the rest of his work, even though it is very good, I'm a little put off by that, frankly. Why wouldn't he go to
And
that?
Carrie, did you say sorry to interrupt. Carrie, did you say that we may have received a response, but we wouldn't know because Rebecca's been out and you're behind?
No,
the
so I
responses for that?
do, yeah, I have been reviewing the email sent to Rebecca's email, so I did go through them. I mean, it's a lot of emails, so I may be at fault here. I don't know. I am doing a quick search of his email. I'm not in her account right now, and I don't see anything specific from him. But you know, it may also be helpful if one of the artists in our PAC group is able to reach out to him as well, separately, if that's possible, if you're interested. Or I can certainly email him as well, to see if we can get a hold of him. Although Jen, you said you just did.
I Instagram messaged him, but I'm happy to email him as well.
Okay.
Is there a reason why maybe he was just going to use one of his already fabricated sculptures and put it out there? Because it's odd that he wouldn't have had some idea, or maybe he didn't have an idea. If he did, I would imagine he would have told us what it was going to look like. So
Yeah,
maybe
so we
he
need
just
we need to
relied-
find it.
Yeah,
We
maybe
need
just
to have
relied upon his reputation.
I think we need to have a specific image of what he would put there
Even
I
if
agree.
it's something that already
for many
exists.
reasons. Huh?
Yeah. Even if it's something that already exists.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree with you, Margie. I mean, I looked on his website, and obviously he's a very experienced artist, and I'd like to be able to just trust he's going to do something fantastic. But it wouldn't be fair to the rest of the artists who did show us something specific or pretty specific.
So can I ask what people think about investigating about moving the coyote? Do you like that sculpture? Do you think it should be there
Where is the coyote now?
near the library in the parking lot?
Oh, yeah. I know what you mean, of course.
Yeah, it's the entry to between the parking lot and the senior center, where Edmonds Way is off of
Okay,
High Street.
Who's the artist?
let's just go through really quick. We are really low on time and we still have another agenda item. Comments on the coyote. Margie would like to open that. Barbara, do you have comments?
I really
Um,
like the coyote. I think it's very nice, and I think people who've seen it have always had a pleasant experience with it, as far as I know.
Jeff?
Yeah, I'm okay with the option of moving the coyote, but why would it be moved from where it is now?
Okay, and Lars?
I would agree with Jeff.
So
Really?
Okay, I
Yeah.
would also like to comment, everybody's seen the coyote, it's been there for a long time. I don't understand moving it to the sculpture garden at all. But
okay,
If that
so I
needs to be
didn't get to
moved-
comment. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah, please, Margie, go ahead.
No, finish, Jen.
No, it's fine, go ahead.
No, you finish. Are you done? Do you have anything else that you want to put in on it?
Well, we're just moving it across the street, so I don't really get it, but
Okay, so
Yeah,
I
I don't
think
think we
that,
should move the coyote.
one thing, it is a familiar thing, so it has that aura. And secondly, that there were a number of sculptures that were just put up without going through the Public Arts Committee. And then the Public Arts Committee, there was a a requirement put in that things to be put up like that on public property would need to go through the Public Arts Committee. This did not, and there also was a time limit on, they could be up for 2 years. And this has gone definitely beyond that. So that's why it would be, to keep the policy in place and to respect that, and to give it another chance. Personally, I don't love it as a sculpture, but I think that it has a certain longevity with the community, and I think it would be fine in the sculpture garden.
I just wonder what it says about the sculpture garden that we have 8 pads and we can't fill 8 with new sculptures, so we need to move one across the street from the library. So I just did we put too many pads, or did we not have enough people? Did we not let the call go long enough? So that's just where I'm a little
Yeah,
bit.
those are possibilities. And we're just starting. So maybe in the future we'll have more than 8 that we all love. And it's just, I don't think there's a problem with adding it.
I agree with that. I think just like, when you furnish your house, you don't necessarily have all the rooms completely furnished the first thing. So, next season it's resubmitted and you add more.
I agree. I'd rather see 2 blank or empty pads with the anticipation of their being filled because of our thoughtfulness.
Yeah, well said. I mean, I think we could still try and get that last one, whatever his name was, the video guy.
Dan Rigo.
We could see if we can get, I think having only one empty one is more poignant than 2.
Okay, unfortunately, we are going to have to move forward. So as far as I'm understanding, we have the 6. This is going to go before City Council with these 6. And we can just leave the rest out. Hopefully we'll hear from Dan, and we're not under a time schedule. We can add things later.
Right.
So if it's okay with everybody, can I move on?
I just want to know, do we want to do a vote about the coyote, whether people want to check about that or no?
I think the vote was no.
No, okay.
I
didn't
thank
catch
you.
that, but okay.
If you don't mind, before you move, Jen, if we have the votes or the thoughts on the individual artists, and so that was if we could ask for a motion to approve to recommend the 6 artists, and I can read their names, who were unanimously preferred by the committee. I'm not sure what the right word for that is. Recommended by each of the unanimously recommended to recommend that to council. Then we can bring those 6 to council, and I'll certainly include that there are 8 paths. However, these are the 6 that of the current submission that the committee feels recommends for installation at this time, with future calls to fill other spaces. And so the people I have, just so that we are clear, is Beth Hartman, Brianna Hendren, Carol Pemberton, Noah Caraher, sorry, I'm bad with names, Philip Frechetta, Sarah Hilton, and Jeffrey Zankel.
No, Philip Frechetta was not on the list.
No. He's the guy with the stones, right?
That's right.
Noah was the tree.
No, Philip.
No,
Philip was the rock.
Mhm.
Noah was.
Oh, Philip, sorry, yes, Philip was not on the list, I'm
Okay.
sorry. I have Beth, Brianna, Caro, Noah, Sarah, and Jeffrey on my list.
Right.
Okay, yes,
Okay,
thank you.
so let's,
I make a
See,
motion that we send these on to the city council.
do we have a second?
That motion?
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, say nay.
And Lars, were you an aye or a nay on that one?
I'm an
There you
aye.
go. Okay. Okay, so it's unanimous. Thank you very much, everybody, for that. And we will have this on the October 19th agenda, which is not next week, but the week after. And so if there, it would be great to have a liaison from this group attend that meeting, which will be virtual, just like these are.
I'll do that. Yeah.
I see Margie as our remaining sculpture garden committee subcommittee member. So thank you, Margie.
Okay, I can see that I'm starting to lose my internet for some reason. But if I fall out of this, Margie, go ahead and take over. So the motion has been approved to move those to City Council, and with 5 minutes left for the meeting, let's move on to agenda item B, standard signage for city public art. There's no written report. Carrie, are you talking about the signs that we designed for the entrance of the sculpture garden?
Yes, and I think if possible, I know there's some questions for staff. I don't have those fully answered yet. And so I would recommend, if given the time and everything, if we can bump that to the next meeting. I think we'll still have time to produce the signs.
Sounds great. Well, that saved some time.
Maybe we could just make a comment to the city council that we will be doing that.
Yeah, it's perfect. I can include that in the report.
Thank you.
Is there a
Thank
process?
you.
Is there a process for moving forward with the signage?
What is the process?
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is there something in place that we're going to adhere to, or
So we discussed the signage at the last meeting, and there were some questions about size and posts, installation on posts, and what Public Works would be able to do for that. We need to figure out, but then it'll come back to this committee for further review and approval.
Okay, I do remember that discussion, or part of it anyway. The reason I asked is at least we would have something to submit to the city council members. That's enough, it seems to me. That those requirements are being considered.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on, if that's all right with everybody. We'll move on to the planning department report.
Thank you, and I will keep this brief. The city council did direct staff to continue with virtual meetings given the COVID variants through November. So your next meeting will also be virtual. They will reassess at that time. We do have a couple of items that may be of interest to this committee coming up. The Planning Commission on October 12th will have a discussion on banning gas stations anywhere in Sebastopol as a climate change response. And then on the 26th of October, they will have a Calder Creek naturalization in Ives Park discussion, and obviously with its proximity to the sculpture garden, that may be of interest to you. We have a couple of meetings coming up this fall on that. This one will be a community input and discussing what possibilities might be. Then they will return, I believe, tentatively in November. We're still setting the final schedule for that, but they'll be returning with some alternatives for review and input from the commission and public. And then later, likely in January, with a final recommendation discussion with the Planning Commission, and then that will also go to City Council. But the next meeting for that is, if you're interested in participating, is October 26th at 6 p.m. And that's part of our Planning Commission is also our Parks Commission, so they'll be hearing that at their meeting.
So,
and then we do have a local hazard mitigation plan, which is the draft of that's about to be released to the public, and the Planning Commission will also review that on October 26th.
So you mentioned a meeting on the 12th, and then the one that I just agreed to be at was on the 19th or on the 12th?
Correct. Yeah. So I was talking about the Planning Commission meetings, but
got it. Okay.
The PAC, the sculpture garden item will go to City Council on the 19th.
Thank you.
Of October.
Thank you.
Gary, could you repeat the starting time for the 26th? meeting, October 26th?
Sure. So all of our city council and planning commission meetings now, regular meetings start at 6 p.m.
Okay, thank you.
They used to be different. It's much easier for the public and for staff to remember and have it all be a consistent time.
Okay, great. Thank you, Carrie. Do you have anything else?
Oh, I do have one other, which is John Jay, a new associate planner, did start a couple weeks ago. So slowly introducing him to the cities. Lars, you'll meet him this afternoon at the design review board meeting. But happy to have him on board, and he's doing well so far. We haven't scared him away yet.
Great.
Okay, great. If that's it, I can ask if anyone would like to move to adjourn, make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah, I'll make a motion to adjourn, and also I wanted to thank Carrie for putting that matrix together that we used.
Thank you.
Here,
Awesome.
here.
Thank you.
Yes.
You're
thank
welcome,
you.
and thank you for your flexibility. And I'm glad we were able to make it work.
I'll second the motion.
Thank you, Lars. And all in favor, say aye.
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 Hi.
All opposed, nay. Okay, we are moved to adjourn. Thanks, everybody. And if I can ask Margie to stay on.